So here's a saying for you. Spirituality without ontology produces legalism. Ontology is the theory of being. It's the understanding of reality, though that's why we have to go there. And it applies not just to God, but it also applies to us as human beings. What really matters in us is the hidden aspect, the sources of our behavior. And we have to understand that we are spiritual beings. That's ontology. And when we get the ontology right and we get the order right in the person, then we're able to escape legalism. Spirituality without ontology produces legalism. And that will be Phariseeism. And that's why religious people often are so angry and can be very mean, is because they're focusing on behavior, on faith and practice, and they're judging themselves and everyone else in terms of that. And it produces mean Christians and contemptuous Christians. I mean, just think of the things that Christians have done to one another. And where does that come from? Well, it comes from the insistence on behavior and on specific beliefs and right and wrong. And so the Inquisition and all the religious wars and all of those things, and you say, how could that happen? It's because they try to understand spirituality in terms of explicit behavior or faith and practice or explicit kinds of belief. So now if we come to Jesus, we have to have beliefs about him. You can't come to him any other way. But the significance of the beliefs is not so we will be identified as having the right answers. See, very often salvation in terms of going to heaven is presented in terms of you being kind of like a driver's test, you know, here in California. If you miss 3, you have to take it over. Except in this situation, you don't get to take it over. You just have to go to the bad place because you didn't get the right answers. And the significance of faith is not having the right answers. The significance of faith is being enmeshed in reality in the way that accords with truth. And when you do that, then your life is different. Take something that in past generations have been huge battles over, virgin birth of Christ. Well, what's the significance of that? To believe the virgin birth of Christ. Well, it isn't getting the right answer. It's that if you believe that Christ was born of a virgin, you got a different world than one in which he was not. So now you're going to be relating to him in a different way. I mean, you hear now, of course, constant discussions among Christians about, was Christ divine? Well, one way of thinking about it is, if I say that, then I pass the test. God will let me in because I got the right answer. Now, I'm hoping that you are thinking that surely isn't the way it matters. You see, if I believe that Jesus is the Son of God, that he was uniquely divine, I relate to him differently than if I relate to him just as a nice man who had a historical significance, and we ought to be like him or something of that sort, you know. So my belief is designed to integrate my action with reality. And that's why it really matters. So we seek the kingdom in Jesus, we come to him, we begin to listen to him. If the Holy Spirit in the Word works faith in our heart, then we begin to say, this is the Son of God. This is equal with God. And now then we have a different kind of person that we're relating to. And hopefully all that we've been saying spells that out. So we come to seek the kingdom in Jesus. We live out the righteousness, the peace, and the joy that is of the Holy Spirit and we live in uncompromising obedience. We're learning to do that. Now, do we have to be perfect? Well, no, obviously not. Why? We're not accepted on the basis of perfection or performing. We're accepted because of our relationship to Jesus. When I go to heaven, the place of God, they're not going to check the computer to see if all of my sins have been paid for. They will see another friend of Jesus coming. That's what they will see. A disciple may be very green and very imperfect. What characterizes the disciple is not the level of their perfection. What characterizes a disciple is that they are learning, that they are progressing. And before very long, they're very different in how they behave because their inner being has been